The HOA president who'd driven her SUV straight through my house, claiming I owed her for wrecking her car. Me, Ryan Holt. Just a guy who'd spent a year restoring a 100-year-old cabin in Pinewood Valley, Montana, thinking I'd found freedom from city noise and petty rules, only to have Linda turn my dream into a legal circus. What she didn't know was that I'd been saving every letter, every threat. So this cabin was my obsession. New beams, restored windows, every nail driven with purpose. No HOA, no neighbors for half a mile, just me and the wind. Or so I thought. 2 weeks after I settled in, a letter showed up, crisp, official, smelling like expensive perfume. Pinewood Valley HOA welcomes you, it said, with a 12-page PDF about community harmony and rules for everything from grass length to porch furniture. My land wasn't even in their jurisdiction, so I chuckled, tossed it in the trash, and went back to sanding my porch. Then the letters got mean. The next one called my fence non-compliant with aesthetic standards, my chimney structurally suspect, and my toolbox on the porch an eyesore. I'm no lawyer, but I know nonsense when I see it. A week later, Linda Carver rolled up in a gleaming black SUV. A no-nonsense type from Bozeman who pulled my property records and found a 1950s easement proving my land was exempt from any HOA. We got a restraining order faster than you can say frivolous lawsuit, barring Linda and her HOA cronies from coming within 200 feet of my place. The judge, a guy who looked like he'd rather be herding cattle, barely hid his smirk when Linda argued my cabin was in visual proximity to her precious community. The letters stopped. The SUV stopped cruising by, and for 3 months, I thought I'd won. I built a new deck, planted some wildflowers, let the quiet sink into my bones, until 2:17 a.m. on a cold March night, when Linda's SUV turned my kitchen into rubble. I was up late, sketching a client's barn remodel, my laptop glowing in the dark, when I heard it, a roar like a bear charging, tires chewing gravel. Then boom. The house shook, my chair tipped, and the east wall exploded inward, drywall flying, cabinet splintering, my fridge tipping like a drunk. I hit the floor, heart slamming. And through the dust, I saw headlights and a crumpled SUV had buried in my kitchen. Linda Carver sat behind the wheel, hair wild, a bottle of Pinot Noir rolling across the passenger seat. Hands shaking but voice steady, and called 911. Someone just drove through my house, I told the dispatcher. She's still here, and yeah, I know who she is. The sheriff's deputies showed up with an ambulance and a fire truck, their lights painting the night red and blue. Linda, with a cut on her cheek and a dazed look, started spinning a story before they even got her out of the car. My SUV was stolen, she yelled, pointing at me. He rigged it, hacked the system, drove it into his own house to frame me. The deputy, a guy named Torres with a mustache that said seen it all, just raised an eyebrow and asked for my security footage. Got it, I said, for angles, cloud backup. Linda's eyes widened. But she kept going, flipping between tears and outrage, claiming I'd been harassing the HOA for months. Torres found her purse, keys, and that damn binder in the SUV. The driver's seat set for her 5 feet 4 inches frame. I almost laughed when he held up the wine bottle and asked, "This stolen too?" By morning, my kitchen was a crime scene, tarped up with a red, unsafe structure sign slapped on my door. I was picking glass out of my sink when my phone pinged, a legal notice from the HOA's lawyer, accusing me of causing the crash by tampering with Linda's vehicle and building a hazardous house to entrap her. They wanted $15,000 for her car, emotional distress, and community disruption, plus a public apology for slandering Linda. I forwarded it to Claire, who texted back, "They're delusional. Call me." I walked my property, staring at the tire tracks, 2 straight lines from the HOA's boundary to my wall, no skid marks, no swerve. This wasn't a drunk mistake. It was a missile with a grudge. That's when I checked the cameras. I'd installed extra ones after the restraining order, solar-powered, hidden in a fake owl box, just in case. At 1:39 a.m., the footage showed Linda stumbling out of the HOA clubhouse, keys in one hand, wine bottle in the other. She got in her SUV, HOA logo shining on the door, and instead of taking the road, she veered across my field, mowing down sagebrush, her face lit by the dashboard, focused, angry, not panicked. She circled once, slow, like she was picking her target. Linda didn't stop there. She hit the neighborhood Facebook group, posting about my dangerous cabin and anti-community attitude, claiming I'd hacked her car with tech tricks. She even got two neighbors, Ed and Marie, to supposedly sign affidavits saying they saw me near her SUV that night. Problem was, Ed's a retired mechanic who'd lent me a wrench once. And Marie makes jams so good it's practically currency. I knocked on Marie's door, and she looked horrified. I never signed anything, she said. Digging a form letter from her trash that threatened, silence implies consent. Ed said the same, furious his name was used. Claire filed for forgery charges on top of everything else. And we had a case airtight enough to survive a tornado. Then Linda went too far. 3 nights later, my phone buzzed, a motion sensor alert. I opened the app, and there she was, sneaking past the 200-foot line in a hoodie, flashlight in hand, muttering, "He thinks he's clever with his cameras." She crept to her SUV, still parked near my property for the tow company, and started rifling through it. Then she lit a match, torching a stack of papers, HOA notices, her own logs, anything that might nail her. She didn't know about the Owlbox camera, streaming every second to my cloud. Claire, when I sent her the video, laughed so hard she snorted. "She's burning her own evidence in your yard, Ryan. This is a gift." We turned it all over to the sheriff. Crash footage, arson video, forged affidavits, and emails from a whistleblower on the HOA board, Green Thumb, who'd sent me meeting notes showing Linda's plan to neutralize me. The courtroom was a zoo, reporters, neighbors, even a guy selling Crash My Wall t-shirts. Linda walked in, pale, jaw tight. Her lawyers looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. Claire laid it out. The deliberate crash, the arson, the lies, backed by timestamps and witness statements. Linda's defense tried to spin it as stress-induced errors from community pressure, but the judge, a woman with a stare that could cut steel, wasn't having it. Was the stress before or after she drove through a man's house? She asked. The room went quiet. Linda refused a plea deal, snarling, "I was protecting Pinewood Valley from his chaos." No HOA involvement ever again, and the HOA itself? Dissolved, its accounts audited, its power gone. I rebuilt my kitchen, concrete base, huge windows, a steel plaque that reads, "Here fell HOA tyranny, rebuilt with grit." The neighbors changed too. Ed brought me his homemade stout. Marie showed up with jam and a grin, offering to sand my new table. Wildflowers sprouted along the old HOA line, planted by someone who never left a name. But a month ago, a flyer slipped into my mailbox. Sunrise Community Alliance, same old song, new name. Signed by L. Jensen. I went to their meeting, coffee in hand, and saw her, Linda, in a wig and glasses, pitching voluntary unity. I recorded it, sent it to the sheriff. And she was back in jail by morning for parole violation. That plaque on my wall. I added a line, "Freedom's a fight you don't quit." Did I go too far, baiting her with that camera? And let's talk about standing your ground.